Great. Well, thanks, Katz. That was a wonderful presentation. And I think probably the best place is to segue from your last slide. I think one of the things that you said at the very end was carrier cloud is a business opportunity for network service providers. And I guess for Andrew and Mike, maybe to get your take on that, how you guys are positioning as integrating cloud services for your customers, how you're delivering cloud services. Maybe mention a few things about that.
Okay, thanks. So, good morning, everyone. So, I lost my voice not because of last night karaoke, it's because of the work. Okay, so thanks for the question. I think it's a very good presentation from Nakata-san. On the cloud side, at this moment, we have two requirements. One is on the carrier, and the other one is on our enterprise customer. So for our enterprise customer, basically, what they're looking for is another kind of specific QoS and SLA. Namely, the market is pushing us into a direction that a kind of solution and tailor-made. Instead of we give them a full-fledged cloud service, they will buy it and they will follow us around the world. So let's say, for example, we do have a shipping company who's requesting us specifically for some special location, instead of I need the whole world coverage, a normal kind of coverage. And other than that, one very funny thing that they're pushing us to do is we develop a technology and a product called ODVLL. It's on-demand guarantee bandwidth instead of putting it into the internet only. So this is one sector of the customer in which they're pushing us to launch our service in a different way. For those, another sector, which is talking about the carrier, I think they have their own specific solution. Instead of asking us to give them all the details, basically they're grabbing our cloud service and bundle it by themselves and modify it to fulfill their own customer requirement. So what I can see is that these two streams will still develop and maybe in a faster pace in the coming year.
Mike?
Yeah, I think it was a great setup. I think we have opportunities on both sides. I completely agree we can change the buying model for customers. Provisioning is a nightmare in the networking space, and we get around the local loop problem. We save customers money. We allow ourselves to invest at scale, which has been difficult when you're building private networks, especially for enterprises. We can change to, and you'll see Verizon actually moving forward with usage-based billing models, which in the enterprise networking space is pretty unique. I think everyone's going to end up going down that path, the on-demand path, as you referred to. I think where we want to really take advantage of the opportunity, though, and we talk, at some point, over the top always comes into the conversation. We have a level of visibility into application performance, into security, and to cross-border control that almost nobody else has. And especially on the carrier side, where we've sort of lamented the state of affairs when it comes to over-the-tops pushing us down. I think this is an opportunity for us to give what I like to say is visibility to an enterprise where the WAN is the legacy LAN. Customers used to have things in a data center. They could plug something into a SPAN port. They could watch application performance. They could control security. And now their LAN is 5 different SaaS providers, 3 different cloud providers, offices, mobile endpoints, and their own data centers. The LAN just changed, and we're the ones sitting in the middle of that. That's an opportunity I think we need to take advantage of.
And I mean, Katz, do you see that similar, change in the networks to adopt the cloud services?
As I said, don't limit yourself, and in the enabler's role. But as the ecosystem is changing and expanding, and involving all the IT resources, then the depth brings back in the original position that we definitely have to enhance our network infrastructures and enhance our network services as well. So this kind of positive kind of ecosystem cycle can be taking place. So that's my kind of message.
What are the biggest changes in corporate networks that have to happen to integrate cloud services? I mean, obviously, you've got lots of customers with a lot of legacy technology, but as you advise them on a migration path towards adopting data center and cloud services, what is that path? What are the biggest changes that need to be made?
I see as I mentioned, the demand is more diverse now. So in the past, to handle some corporate customer We have wholesale, corporate, and others. But in my observation is that we cannot give them just a one or two kind of product. For example, I don't know how you define the, let's say the OTT. Are they your corporate customer or are they your wholesale customer? Sometimes you cannot define. And we gave up in defining some of the customer. Are they carrier in nature or are they corporate in nature? The reason behind is that it only depends on the size. Some of the customer, for example, they would like to use, okay, I try to push my content in a CDN manner. But some of the customer, they may come and saying that, no, I don't need that. I will do my own CDN. So as such, to answer your question quick is that, inside, it's just like you got a whole bunch of assets on top of your table. And when a customer comes, for example, your question is the corporate customer, you pick and choose along the line. But of course, all your product and asset, you got to go along with the strategy and also with the direction of the overall growth. So now they need is not only connectivity, of course. They need, as Nakata-san said, they need SI, they need IT, they need IDC, they need cloud, they need connectivities. I think it is no one formula to say that I'm going to do this for my corporate customer, but instead it's a mix and match.
You know, I think first of all, our own OSS BSS model needs to change. You know, I think carriers operate at such scale that innovation is held back less by what our networks look like and more on how we can bill a customer. You know, whether we can provision a particular value proposition to them effectively or not. So there are investments that we're all going to have to make on the OSS BSS side. I think data is another, just going back to that visibility that we have across the WAN, we have to become businesses that are not just focused at layer 3. We have to think about the data going across. We have to think about not only how we use that data for our customers' benefits, but we have to think about how we can leverage the network as a storage and processing point for customers. I was at a customer last week, very large-scale customer that asks the question, why does every lookup that I need to do in country need to come back to my corporate data center? Why can't we put that at your edge? And the more that we do that, I'm convinced that we're going to see new business models, new applications, to your point, be written that take advantage of lower latency and potentially less risk for compliance. But again, for us, that comes back to less technology. We can do these things. It's a question of, you know, can we create a service description and an OSS BSS that takes advantage of the fact that most of this technology is already in the network at some level?
Yes.
Yes. So it's like Verizon, they recently bought the HCAS. And so probably, so not for the, as a kind of wholesale standpoint point of view, but for the, corporate users, it is a really, good thing to have a kind of such a kind of, capability to, from the kind of corporate users point of view. So, because the edge traffic, customers want to control the kind of edge traffic, in the kind of regions and their sites. So, we definitely have to expand our capabilities.
Right. I mean, as network requirements go global, clearly one of the challenges is delivering that service and providing the same end user experience to all the customer sites. I mean, maybe talk about how you put things like NNIs in place and how those are capable of delivering the quality of service or the level of service that your customers require, and maybe some of the challenges that you face in doing so.
So I think in our international arena, in this past, especially in this past 10, 20 years, so the whole economic change. In the past, I think, obviously, I don't want to recap too much the old days, but we always learn from the old days.
Right.
So I think we are going through an evolution. In the past, for example, in a country, you only have one incumbent, or there is a monopoly situation. That carrier, basically, they are representing the country already, almost, okay, representing the country. So no matter how big or how small your country are or your area, So whenever there's a carrier coming in, you have to cooperate because it is a responsibility instead of pure commercial decision. Okay. While we're going through the regulation to around 15 years ago, now you have a choice, and I see that sometimes the cooperation between the carrier is more shifting to can I earn the last juice immediately? There is no, the commercial consideration is more and more. So it's nothing wrong with that. It's a commercial world. We live in the commercial world, and we have to cope with it. But having said that, coming to the current stage in the evolution, so I really see that some carrier and operator really need to sharpen our pencil, and we need to pick and make a determination who I'm going to cooperate with for the service delivery that you mentioned, for two simple reasons. The first one is no one can do everything by themselves. Now, this is the first one. Second, I think with this kind of ecosystem, that is my utopia, the competition and price drop will not be that intense or unnecessary. Let's say, for example, if we go into a country, a deregulating country, so I want to do everything by myself. So from head to tails. If all my peers, everyone is trying to enhance and do everything and offer the customer the same kind of product, so I think the price will drop tremendously. In some situations, we do see that is an opportunity that I do something that is my best, but however, I earn faster. I don't mind to earn a little bit less, but I cooperate with other carriers to do it.
Right. Mike, do you see the same?
Commercial models have to change. That's all there is to it. No one sitting in this room would be unfamiliar with the economics of the carrier business overall. They're not what they were in the late 90s. So we have to change. And there are a whole host of legacy constructs, to your point about how we interconnect with each other, that don't make sense anymore. That's problem number one. Problem number two is, notwithstanding how we interconnect with each other, if we don't come up with products that are different than the ones that we're selling, we're dead. Volumes are up hugely. I doubt it's different for anybody in this room. If it's public, if it's private, if it's cellular, if it's customers connecting to Wi-Fi, if it's DAS systems on buildings, you can't find a metric in which growth isn't significant over the last 24 months. Price, on the other hand, isn't following suit. So we have to change. So whether that's who we do business with and who we create value with, and that's more bilateral than it is necessarily sort of an open, maybe responsibility-driven system, then so be it. But definitely, I think if we're sitting here 2 years from now, we're going to be looking at different strategies of how we work together.
Sure. And Katz, you're here.
Yeah, I quite agree. And yes, let me talk about the carrier relations. So the old type of carrier relations is more about the voice traffic, kind of exchange. But this is the era of the data traffic. Data traffic is control everything. And, we don't even have to think about how we're going to cooperate each other. And, I personally, compare the telecommunications business to the kind of airline businesses. And I recently personally think that we definitely have to introduce kind of code share type of model, to cooperate each other to make the make use of the inefficient routes and the servers and all together, routers and all together, and that kind of cooperate, and also the like a business partnership, not the kind of buy and sell type of relations. We definitely have to go beyond the kind of buy and sell relationships.
I think, Mike, one of the things you talked about is network flexibility in different billing models and new technologies to deliver the service to the end user. One of the hot topics of the day is like SDN, and I think one of the questions I think Katz proposed it is what is the impact of new technology like SDN on an operator's network business? I mean, how quickly can that be integrated into your network? I mean, is that how far along are we in that pipeline? Is that something that's a reality today at Verizon, or something that you're looking towards integrating in the next 18 months, 2 years?
The first question, I think the first answer you'd have to come up with, what is SDN? And I don't think you could find 3 people that have the same definition. Sure. You've got the crowd that believes that everything is going to be operations center controlling routing real time, and then even extending that into self-service into a portal somewhere. Other people have a much more modest definition, than what we have today. Verizon, like every other carrier, is looking at the impact of SDN. I think we, like many, believe that it's coming along, but it's not a technology that's going to revolutionize the world in the next 12 months. It'll be taken incrementally, mostly because there's zero tolerance for failure. We just can't afford to go into a mass cutover into a system like that. Having said that, should there be huge opportunity for us? Think about the amount of redundancy and unused capacity in global networks today that in a data center were all solved through virtualization and through optimization at the LAN level. None of that's been applied to the WAN level. Think about the value in being able to, again, collect and manage data and feed that back through for performance as an opportunity to monetize these networks further for application and content originators. Love to be in that world, but we're going to progress, I think, responsibly toward it.
Right. Katz, your view from NTT with respect to SDN?
I quite agree with Mike, but we definitely have to introduce kind of SDN under the on the kind of open kind of platform architectures. And as I said, like in a legacy model or the current kind of business service model is the kind of really dependent on the vendors. All the configurations are decided by the vendors. But once we introduce the kind of open, like software-defined network with the open network architecture, like open flow kind of stuff, so then we get freedom to choose the kind of vendors, and so that we can minimize the kind of cost and we simplify the kind of whole and kind of processes. That's the kind of goal for us to introduce SDN.
Yeah, I think SDN will come, but not now. So I think the comparison is many years ago you're using the legacy switch, and now a lot of us is moving to Class 5 already. But having said that, how can we monetize this one? It's yet to tell. I think at this moment our company is testing out the SDN at our edge as a kind of cost saving. How can we deliver this benefit to our customer is yet to tell. But I think it will come.
Now, I know a lot of people in the room are focused on wholesale, and there are a lot of submarine cable providers and people interested in that part of the business. When we start talking about data centers and cloud services, we talk about a change in traffic patterns around the world, really. What do you think that this move towards cloud services and more centralized data centers, what impact will that have on international data traffic? Mike, do you want to start?
I mean, we are super excited about it. Honestly, if you were a carrier like Verizon, I suppose, NTT, many others, the difficulty in competing in the markets goes back to it's the cooperation at the local access level. And to use a sports analogy, we're talking cloud services is skating to where the puck's going, and if the puck's going to centralized locations where we can create great efficiencies through scaled investment, where we can logically provision customers, give them better service, logical turnups, one-day turnarounds instead of months-long implementations. That's a tremendous opportunity for us. We've saved money, customers save money, we have a better experience, we can innovate around business models for charging customers, we get easier collection of information and data, we get to be able to move workloads for them to optimize locations. I can't think of a reason why a shift towards centralized facilities, be it co-location facilities or, in fact, cloud and SaaS providers, in any way is a bad thing for us. I think it's a huge benefit.
Katz?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Yes, okay. There's a kind of huge opportunity. Yeah. So as I said, that there's a kind of boundary, across the IT resources. But by introducing the cloud, so the boundary is going away. And all vertical model and all horizontal model can be provided, and then so that we can achieve the kind of global optimized kind of model, service model, and to the customers. That's a kind of challenge, but it's also very exciting for us.
And Andrew, how does it change how you plan the capacity in your network, certainly on international links and things like that?
Yeah, actually, following the question about the data center, which affect the traffic pattern a lot. and also your question talking about how we plan the capacity. Sorry. I see that along with the line with the data center traffic pattern. Basically, there's a centralization and decentralization. The centralization is within the region, you will see several very important centralized IDC center in which the traffic centralizing in. But the customer is also asking you to go to other places so that you can put them on those centralized points. So that's why I'm talking about the centralization of traffic and decentralization of traffic. We have to plan our cable or whatsoever in a very clever way.
I think one other point you talked about was managing OTTs and how you plan for that. One thing I heard yesterday is that increasingly OTTs are trying to differentiate their services by buying quality of service or class of service, particularly in the voice world, like the Skypes of the world. Is that something that you see as class of service becoming a bigger requirement in that area? I don't know, Andrew, your experience?
I think there's not a question anymore. The reason behind is that if we don't do it, the OTT will do it by themselves. Okay, so several years ago, I still remember the first OTT discussion in PTC was 5 years ago. And during that time, we talk about, okay, the OTT is threatening, we worry or whatsoever. Obviously, this generation is gone. So, and especially when we talk about the differentiation, the differences, and also the edge between OTT and also the so-called traditional carrier in the 4 areas. Payment gateway, I don't have, I have, you don't have. Locational based information, I have, you don't have. Network development, I have, you don't have. Other than that level performance, those 4 areas become more and more blurred because the OTT been keep on working on it. So how many apps that they push to your smartphone will not ask you, do you allow me to take your locational information? No, 99%. They will ask you. So that means this is the blur already. So it is not a generation we talk about how we can protect ourselves, but instead, a lot of carriers, including us, we are all embracing the OTT. And talking about the quality, my statement is still the same as my start, is that you don't do it, they will do it themselves. Right. So you better provide the service.
Mike.
No, I mean, I agree. They have a lot more control than we would like to think that they do. OTTs are a great thing for consumers, and arguably they're a great thing for us. I mean, they're driving a huge amount of demand, whether it's a video content originator or it's a social networking site, or they're creating demand for network. So we've got to embrace them for many, many reasons. I think we have to focus on what we do well, and something that most OTTs don't have, and that is universal reach. Skype's a great service. We've all, I think, mostly have Skyped with our families when we travel. I put that on my top 5 list of life-changing things I was able to do back when that came out. Is it a great service? From a quality standpoint, it's a walled garden service. When we think of ourselves as carriers, our openness is one of our great advantages. Communications was never supposed to be a walled garden. So we have to think about kind of pulling our boots back on, I think, and sort of addressing some of these spaces. Not to say that OTTs shouldn't be there, but we should be competing vigorously where attributes of universal reach and openness are critical.
Yes?
Yeah, let me make a comment one thing about developing countries. OTT is a kind of providing, gather the whole traffic, or they gather kind of subscribers. So like in Japan, it's not really developing, but we have the line. It's like explosively the population of subscribers of the line is explosive. It's like 0.5 billion, but they bring in the traffic into the kind of apps, and also in their mobile users in the developing countries and some countries like Asian Pac, and population of mobile users also explosive, and then also they are kind of really dependent on their OTTs and contents. So as a contents provider, they can help. So in some regions, it's their relationship is mutually, supporting together. But also they will see in the future, they will be an enemy. So most of the, carriers will understand it in the future.
The topic of the session was meant to be business drivers of the global network evolution. I think we've hit a lot of those topics here. I guess for one final question, just as far as maintaining customers and growth and revenue for your businesses, what do you see as the biggest opportunity, say, in the next year before we come back to PTC in 2015? Andrew, do you have a vision on that?
To maintain customer and grow the revenue. I think obviously in some situations you have to take a look at the supply and demand. So as such, it depends on your short-term goal or long-term goal. So if you're talking about the short-term goal, you may have one kind of decision. If you're talking about a medium long-term goal, you may have another kind of decision. But basically, I think it's not deviated from your pricing, your quality of service. I think these are the two golden rules. But having said that, there are some linge opportunity comes up, no matter in a geographical point of view or in a technological or product point of view. So for example, a lot of people now, we are talking about IPX. Other than that, we are not talking about a specific cloud solution. I think those areas are some of the areas that we may need to focus.
I would 100% agree. I would say that we have two areas that we have to deliver on, aside from the million basic things that we have to do as a large business. One of them is when we talk about cloud, or if it's security, or if it's networking, we have to make those things work together. That's the reason you buy from a company like ours. The second thing we have to do is pivot our companies at the same time toward end state solutions, not towards simply being an arms merchant of underlying technology. And to that, we look for big transformational spaces. In the U.S. in particular, healthcare is a great example. It's 20% of the U.S. economy. It grows at a multiplier of GDP, and it's undergoing massive transformation, both at a regulatory level and a technology level. Companies like Verizon that have a consumer and enterprise approach have a great opportunity to influence that, not just to make money, but also be relevant to society. So we are hopefully going to deliver on those two things. When we sit down 12 months later, hopefully some of the real movement in cloud and things like healthcare will have materialized.
Katz, your last.
Yeah, I quite agree. And, as the Verizon, so, we can aim at the kind of, packaging the whole kind of services and vertically, including everything, and then to customize the, services. But at the same time, each piece of the kind of services should be kind of commoditized, as I said. So, where is the value services? So, probably, as the Mike clearly said, that, solutions and customize the whole kind of package, tuned to the customer's needs. That is the kind of, our kind of value.
All right, well, I see that our time is up. I'd like to thank each of our panelists for your contribution today, and please join me in thanking them. Thanks. Thank you.